Thought you guys might want to check out this that just came. We got this, I saw it for the first time today, and I'm obsessed. I love it. And because the cool thing about this, right, it's held on there with a magnet. What? It's held on there with a magnet, which means you can add other stuff to it. That's a crescent moon. I'd show you a full moon, but this is a family show. So this is on here. Let's see what else we got. Halloween's coming up, so we get all spooky. Put this on here. Here we go. What? That's cool. Have this guy staring at you while you're playing. I thought it was a 6-string. I was reaching for that low G. It wasn't there. That is a problem with changing violins a lot. And oh, there's one more. He sent one more with this. It's hunting season in some places, so we got to slap this thing on here. The deer head thingamajiggy. I don't know. What do you play? What do you play for deer head music? I don't know, but I like that reverb a lot. I'm using that reverb from now on. So yeah. Anyway, this is the new OpenFab PDX fiddle. He's got so many cool ideas. He's got one that's translucent and there's lights inside. So that's this one. Just trying not to walk around my friend Mikhail Buck with this thing on. He shoot at me. Let's see, what else do we got? Oh, yeah, we got some great questions here. Hey, everybody. I will be taking these questions momentarily. But first, I want to show you this thing. This just came in. Got my hands on this for the first time today. Am I clipping? All right. This is an 8-string Jordan fiddle. Excuse me, must have been the tacos. Turn that down a little bit, I might have been clipping. Feels really good, man. It's shaking my whole head. So John Jordan had a couple of Sensicore E-flat strings hanging around. He was like, well, ain't no sense in letting these things go to waste, so let's throw on a fiddle. And he did. He threw one on a fiddle, and now we have it. Look at it. It's so big. Go ahead. It's so big. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a low E-flat string. I don't know how many of those are still out there. So if you broke this, you might be up a very specific creek without a paddle. But I think it's unlikely you're going to break it. It's pretty big. So that's actually half a step below the bottom note on a 4-string bass. So very cool. All right. Well, we started out getting some questions. Let's answer some questions. Oh, I was going to say also, your eyes do not deceive you. There is a 6-string fretless Viper, a root beer, what do they call it? A root beer quilt or root beer burl or whatever, root beer float, whatever this color is. 6-string Viper with a Barbera fretless. It's here as a consignment fiddle, so if you want that, it's on our website. Dig in there and buy it. Sigh. All right, so let's go to the comments. Let's get this first one here. This one is actually from last time. Here we go. The Yamaha 250 and 255 have been out for years. True. With the YEV Pro being new, will Yamaha be bringing out an SV model? That's an excellent question that I will never get the answer to. And if I do get the answer, it will be under an NDA, and I wouldn't be able to tell you that I had the answer anyway. Yamaha does a very good job of holding their cards very close to the vest. They keep that stuff. If they got a secret, they keep that secret. I actually knew the YEV Pro was coming for a little while, but I wasn't allowed to say anything. Lindsay had one a while back, and she's been touring with it, but it looks more or less like a YEV, and there's some different colors. Everybody just assumed that she'd painted it. So she's had one for a hot minute. I like them a lot. We did a review video comparing the SV255 to the YEV to the YEV Pro. And a lot of people have asked, is the YEV Pro worth it? I don't know. Only you can decide that. So that's why we put out the video. It's on our YouTube channel. If you go out there and you can watch it, you can listen to it and go, okay, I can hear it. Can I decide if that difference in sound is worth it to me or not? I've actually had a few people say that they prefer the sound of the old school YEV. Great, man. You're lucky. You like the one that's a little cheaper. And they're not going to stop making the YEV as far as I know. It's the best selling instrument out there. It would be very silly if they stopped making that. So the short answer is I don't know if they will be coming out with a new SV model. The long answer is I don't know. And even if I did, I couldn't tell you. Okay. Next question. Is the new MIDI sensor tech thingy any good? Does it track successfully? It depends on what you're asking. If you're asking about the new GM800, yes, it is way better than the GR55. Whole different level of goodness. It's way better. If you're asking about the digitized violin, version 2 of Digitize or Digitize, I just talked to them last week. Version 2 is coming. We should have our hands on one maybe in a month or so, and we'll do another review as usual with them. The new Digitize violin is very similar to the first one. It's the same kind of deal. It is essentially a MIDI controller that looks like an acoustic violin, and you can play it like an acoustic violin, but on the fingerboard of the thing, the fingerboard of it is essentially a touch screen like your phone. So you could throw the bow in a lake, and you could take the strings off, and you could just use the fingerboard as a touch screen. It also has accelerometers inside it, so pitch, yaw, and what all these things are. I'm not a pilot, my son is, but all the different things, the things that you can control on the violin, those all have accelerometers in it, and you can use those. You can map those to anything. You could map this position of the violin to your wah pedal, and you could just do your wah like that. You could do pitch shifting with this. You could hook it up to a whammy, and you play, right? So you could do any of that. Also, it has a mic in it, and the new one actually has a pickup to help with the pitch to MIDI translation. So it's the new Digitize violin is significantly better than the old one, which is significantly better than anything else there was out there. Now it's a different thing. So trying to compare it to a Zeta with a GR55 is it's apples and oranges. It's a whole different thing. But there is new MIDI technology out there, the GM800, and you have to pair it with their, I don't remember what it's called, but it's a analog to digital converter. It's a little, I don't know why they separated it into two boxes, but they did. It's two boxes. There's a little A to D converter, and then the GM800, and then that goes out to your audio system. So that is significantly better than the GR55. Yeah. And the evidence of that, I always just check with the piano sound, the grand piano sound. In the GR55, the only way to make the grand piano sound even remotely workable is pits, right? On the GM800, you can bow it. It's, yeah, it works with bowing. So, yeah. Next question. Tips on learning how to play by ear or improvise. Well, classically trained. So, obviously not Suzuki, right? So, Suzuki, they teach you, for me it was a minute or two ago, but they, like your teacher would play something and then look at you and, hey, play it back to me. It's the same way you teach somebody to talk. And that was the whole idea behind that. Turn my mic here. It was the mother tongue method, right? That will teach you how to play the violin the same way we teach a baby how to talk. Every baby learns how to talk. Roughly every baby learns how to talk. So if you put a violin in their hands and you show them something and, okay, do that. And then, you know, play two notes. It's like a Simon Says type thing. I would say play with your instrument. And in Spanish, we got two different verbs for that. Tocar is to play an instrument, and jugar is to play like you're playing a game, right? I would say you should jugar with your instrument. Not play it the way you play it with your sheet music, but put the sheet music down and pick up an instrument and just put something very, very simple on. Put on like a kid's record or something, or think about the alphabet song or whatever, right? And just, okay, you hear a note like ma, okay, ma, right? So just goof around until you find that note, and then pick a different note, and just goof around until you find the sound that you're hearing, and then find the next one. Just play jugar with it. Just play with it, and your ear will figure it out. You are going to learn how to be able to play simple melodies by ear, right? So if we want to play Happy Birthday, but if you learned it in that key, okay, well, do it in a different key. Right, so we've got to learn those intervals, and we got to learn how to. It's ear training. This is going to sound very self-serving, but I actually am one of the owners of a company that has an app. It's called Note Nerd Voice, and you can find it on the App Store. But it is an ear training app, and you can download the app, and it's like the price of 2 cups of coffee a month or something. There's a free trial, and it has a bunch of ear training modules in there that you can use to train your ear how to hear these different intervals and chords and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's called Note Nerd. So yeah, that's one way to learn. All right, next question. That's a great question though. I was just play. Can I talk about the other violin tunings? Yeah, I guess. I don't really do a whole lot of cross tuning, but you're afraid of breaking your strings. Well, they're going to break at some point, so you might as well break them doing something fun. If you're worried about breaking them by tuning them up, just tune them down, right? And fortunately, this thing has geared pegs on it, so... Yeah, you just if you're trying to learn cross tuning and you're afraid of tuning stuff up too far, just tune down, and then that's you're not going to break a string by tuning it down. I think it's not a big deal to tune something up a half step for sure. You can definitely tune an E string up, tune it up to F. That's no big deal. You can do that all stinking day. This isn't my E string, so I'll go one more. So, yeah, I'd say a whole step either way, you're probably going to be fine. And if you break them, we sell strings. That's all I can tell you. Wow, this is going really well. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. All right, next question. Rebecca, what's happening? I haven't talked with you in a while. Curious about my favorite, I guess you're asking, DIs. Don't have my glasses on. DIs and preamps for electric violin. Okay. Full disclosure, I don't generally use a preamp on my violin. And here's the reason why. Because it depends on what you plug into. If you're using a preamp for impedance reasons, then the very first thing you plug into has to be that preamp. So it's got to be violin, cable, preamp. If you're using a wireless, which I do, then any preamp you plug into just becomes like an EQ. That's what it becomes, an EQ. Because you're no longer getting the impedance benefits of that preamp. The reason most people use a preamp with electric violins or acoustic with a pickup or whatever is because it's a super, if I can only talk, I'd be better at this job. It's a super high impedance pickup, meaning it's got sort of a low electrical pressure. It can't push its way through circuits very well. And if a circuit is kind of stiff and the electrical gate on that circuit doesn't want to open, this is, electrical engineering professors are cringing right now. But imagine that it's kind of a low pressure signal and the gate on that circuit, if you can't push the gate on that circuit all the way open, then the signal just sort of trickles through and you get this kind of nasty, thin, reedy sound. That's what a high impedance is a low pressure, right? Just imagine that it's like water pressure. A low impedance signal is a high pressure. It's going to push through that circuit real easy and all the signal is going to flow through and it's going to sound rich and fat and full and glorious. If what a preamp does is it accepts that low pressure signal, boosts the pressure, and then it's going to push it through all the following circuits. Most preamps also have EQ control on them, so you can control trebles and mids and basses. You've got the Venue DI, which I like a lot. That's a really nice pedal. I own one. But if you're plugging your violin directly into that with a cable, then it's going to accept the high impedance signal of your violin. It's going to boost that strength of that signal or lower the impedance of that signal so that it can flow nicely through the rest of your signal chain. The other thing that pedal does is it's got some nice EQ points in it. They're really kind of designed for acoustic guitar. Did you guys just hear something weird? Wow. Okay. Maybe I just had a little event. So yeah, it's got some EQ points that are set for guitar. That's one of the reasons I like the Prevamp, because all the EQ points are set for violin. But yeah, that's basically what a preamp does. The main function of a preamp is to lower the impedance or raise the sort of signal pressure of your sound. So past that, it kind of depends on just it's basically like a channel strip. What does that circuitry do to color your tone in a way that you like, and do you like the EQ points on it? So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. If I'm not answering your question, just keep dropping comments because I'll hang out long enough to answer as many of these as I can. You can finally view our website. Sweet. I know we've had a couple of issues. Depending on what country you're in, we have occasionally received some sort of hacker attacks from different countries. We sell to over 90 countries around the world. And every now and then there will be a knucklehead in your country that will try to do the hacker thing on our website as if we've got any money to steal. And what'll happen is if it's from a country that we don't generally get a ton of traffic from, we'll just cut that country off until whoever it is who's trying to attack our website gives up and goes away, and then we'll turn your country back on. But yeah, occasionally that happens. Sorry. So that's what's going on. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing well, man. There is a new VSound. It is called the Prosody. Let's see if I've got one nearby that I can grab. Maybe Chris is grabbing me one. It is the same company. It's Prosody. I don't know where we've got one sitting around, but it's green, I think. It is not MIDI control. Correct. It is not MIDI control. Basically, for those of you who don't know, the VSound was a pedal that used IR technology, impulse response technology, to make your electric violin sound more like an acoustic violin. And I mean, you can get impulse response convolvers pretty much anywhere. The Helix has them. Any of the Helix family of pedals has them. If you've got a DAW that you're working with, they've all got impulse response convolvers on them. The one in Logic is called Space Designer. That's what I use. But VSound had a bunch of really, really nice IRs that they got. They had a bunch of Strads. They had some Guarneris. They had some, Tonatonis, or I don't know. I can't pronounce all that stuff. I'm not fancy enough to be able to afford any of those fiddles. But they had some really, really nice IRs in the pedal. And it was a great pedal. It was a great idea. The problem is the execution of that pedal, the physical manifestation of the pedal, was not like the most roadworthy thing in history. And people had got them, and then they were breaking, and like, there was a little window in there that the window would fall in. And so that was kind of disappointing. They went back to the drawing board, and they took all that technology and put it into like an actual stomp box that you can put on your pedal board, and, drunk people can pour stuff on it and it'll be fine, mostly. So yes, it's called the Prosody, and it is, it's got blend capability, which the old VSound had blend capability, but the only way to get to it was through a USB control, and it was kind of a giant pain in the butt. This one is much more roadworthy, and it's a far superior pedal to have on your pedal board. The first one that we got, the first test one that we got to do a review of, it didn't accept a high impedance signal, which is what we're all sending. So that was clearly an oversight. They fixed that, and I think we've got the new ones in that maybe up to a 10 mega ohm signal they will take, which is great. So it will work as your preamp at the very beginning. You can put this Prosody pedal at the very beginning of your signal chain, and then everything else you can do is juicy and gravy. So it is coming. I think we just got the first one the other day. I'm in the middle of shooting 80,000 videos all the time. It's on the list. It's just not at the top. So hopefully it'll get to the top of the list in the next couple weeks, and we'll get a video out of that. Next question. How did I learn the violin? I was a wee lad. I think I was about 2 years old. My mother was a church organist, and my dad was busy with something else at the church. So as a 2-year-old, I'm sitting on the organ bench next to my mom while she's playing. It was in Albion, Michigan, where Albion College is, and the violin professor there is a dear friend of our family, a guy named Phil Mason, Dr. Mason. And he was playing Jesu Joy Man's Desiring with the church choir. And apparently little 2-year-old me was just captivated. So I would not shut up about it. My grandmother basically bullied my mom into buying me a violin. There was no internet back in those days. God, there was barely electricity. I'm a very old man. But yeah, so I started Suzuki. So I started doing Suzuki, and I transferred to electric because I like getting paid. That's kind of the short version of that. I was in a rock band, and sticking a microphone on an acoustic violin is just, that's foolishness, man. So bought a couple of different pickups and a couple of other electric violins. Nope, that wasn't it. And I stumbled across the Viper on the internet, called up Mark Wood. When you called up the shop in those days, Mark would answer the phone, and he sold me a Viper. And I think it came in the mail on like a Wednesday. I think I left for tour on Friday, and I didn't take anything else. So I basically learned, I'd just been a regular old 4-string fretless violinist, got a 5-string fretted Viper, and learned how to play it on stage in front of people. They didn't fire me, so there you go. Dan's trying to help me out. What Pete's referring to is something been posted about recently. It was a MIDI sensor you can put on a violin. That might be the Digitaze that he's seeing. I don't know what he saw, but Digitaze is kind of like that. There is a sensor that mounts on the violin. The new version 2, version 1, it was a separate module, but you couldn't buy it by itself. They just mounted it on a violin for you, and you bought the whole thing. This one, you can put it on your own violin, or we're probably going to end up partnering with some violin makers to just have a full instrument that you can buy that's already installed and already calibrated and all that. So, yeah, that's possible. I got Spanish, I got English. I do not have, that looks like Romanian. I think that's Romanian, and I think you're asking about a good violin. If you can dump that in here in English, I'm going to be way more likely to be able to figure that out. Recommendations on how to play extended range violins in worship band. Loudly. Loudly. That's how you play a violin in any band. Play loudly. That's the whole point of this thing. Yeah, extended range violin in a worship band, it's same as playing any violin in any band. My advice to my students, for the most part, is to listen to what's happening on stage and then play not that. So if you're hearing, and that's from a texture standpoint, it's from a range standpoint, it's from an articulation standpoint. When you're in orchestra, you're trying your very best to blend with the person sitting next to you. The reason there are 8 first violins is because violins aren't very loud and they need more volume. So they just hired 8 of you guys. But if I have a pickup, I don't need 7 other people to play what I'm playing. I can be loud enough to shake the foundations of the universe if I have enough amplification, right? So I will only need 1 of me. And it's the same deal with guitars. You don't need a ton of guitars. If you have several guitars, believe me, they're all playing something different. If they're worth their salt, they're all playing something different. So they don't need you to double what they're doing. Occasionally, from an artistic standpoint, yes, that will be the right thing to do, to maybe double what the guitar is doing, sometimes in a different octave, sometimes in a harmony line or something. Occasionally, that's going to be the right thing to do. Normally, probably at least 80% of the time, you will be trying to play something that nobody else is playing. I mean, if they don't need you to double the guitar player, he has a chorus pedal. He can just do that himself, right? So just kind of listen with your ears to hear what is not being done on stage and pretend that you're a composer. Write a part that is not being played. You know, if you're classically trained, you know about counterpoint. Do some counterpoint. The other advice I will give you is that a violin is a really cool instrument, and people really, really love the violin because people are smart. And one of the things that gives the violin its biggest impact in a group like that is if you don't hear it all the time, right? So when in doubt, lay out. I'll show you the move. I'll show you a move that's going to make you a bunch of money in your career. You ready? It's that move right there. Pick the bow up off the strings and stop playing. That's money, dude. You can make lots of money by doing this. I'm hanging out, man. Am I playing on the verses? No, I am not. I'm just hanging out. When we get to the chorus, and they go to a bridge, it's a church band, you're going to play the bridge at least 400 times. Hang out for the first 200 of them. And then kind of start coming in a little bit. And then help build, and then get out. So one of the things that gives the violin its impact in a situation like that is it's not there. And then when it is there, it's like, oh, that's something different. That's better, right? That's 2 pieces of advice. No charge. Where are Viper Classics made? It's a secret. What is the physical difference between those and waiting years for the ones made by the wood luthiers? Good question. So here is a Viper Classic right here. So the Viper Classics are made not in-house. I don't know exactly where they're made. Mark didn't tell me. I didn't really ask because I don't really care. I only care about the finished product. I don't care if they make them on the moon. But the finished product is going to be more or less indistinguishable from a regular Viper. The biggest difference, and they do finish them in-house, meaning that they do the nut work, they do the bridge work, they kind of do all the final kind of touch-up in-house. So their guys are doing it. And yeah, they finish everything in-house. The biggest difference is right here. This is the wood True Tone pickup. This is their kind of what they call their house pickup. They're okay. They're not, it's not the Barbera for sure. They actually sound pretty decent if you dump all the highs out of them. They are really bright. And that's fine. Subtractive EQ is a thing, not a problem. We can cut stuff that's there. You can't boost something that isn't there. So cutting the highs out of these, not a big deal. You cut the highs out of them, they're going to sound, pretty good. It doesn't sound like a Barbera, but it also costs about $600 less than a Barbera. They're only available in 4-string and 5-string, only fretless, only with a True Tone pickup, and I think in maybe 4 colors: red, black, white, and I think silver. Sparkle silver was a special run. So in general, 3 colors, and maybe there's a 4th one that will kind of appear here and there. If you're going to replace the pickup on here, that's a thing you can do. But yeah, if you're wanting a 4-string or a 5-string fretless, then you can get a Viper Classic, and these are essentially shelf items. I think we've got 2 of them hanging on the wall right now, maybe 3. So they're essentially shelf items. It just, you won't be able to get a Barbera on it. You won't be able to get it fretted. And if you want a 6 or a 7, can't do that either. Okay. All right. Good question. Next question. Are any of the new pickups better than the old tried and tested? Better is not a thing. Different is a thing. Like better is not an objective thing. I have my opinions, and I try every pickup that comes through here, and I'm going to keep my Barbera, but that's me. I really like the Forte Vio pickups. Where's a Forte Vio? I think there's one. Yeah, there's one here. And I know that they have fit some Forte Vio pickups to Vipers, as we're talking about Vipers just a minute ago. I think Dave Brooks has got one, and I think there's been at least 2 Vipers with Forte Vio pickups on them. Really dig those a lot. And I have very much considered, I have 2 6-string Vipers. I very much considered putting a 6-string Forte Vio pickup on one. So I've got one with a Barbera and one with a Forte Vio. I have not pulled the trigger on that yet, but I'm thinking about it. So, and just the reason is saying that any guitar player would have a Strat and a Tele is that, they sound different. Is a Strat better than a Tele? For certain things, it probably is, but for other things, it's not. So, to me, I really dig Forte Vio. I know you're in the UK, Pete. If you haven't had a chance, I think do you own a Forte Vio? I think you might even own one of these, right? I like them a lot. Very, very smooth. Very, very cool sounding pickups. I had thought about getting a Starfish put on one of my Vipers, And I think most people probably don't want as much bottom end as I do. Like when I run my 6-string, I run it, there's no high pass filter on there. It's run into the sub, and man, we are shaking windows, baby. I like all that booty in there. So the reason I didn't want a Starfish, they just don't make as much booty as a Barbera does. Most people who use a Barbera put a high pass on it, and they cut some of that out because it's a lot. And they probably be just as happy with a Starfish. So that's what's going on for me. Next question. Rebecca, yeah, let's see. If I have more time, doing more and more wireless as well. Yes. Low hassle way to ensure decent sound going to my PA. Right now, wireless straight to a board. So most of the whim of the engineer. Yeah. That's a big fat no for me. I know a lot of engineers, they don't know how to do it. So what I have, let me just grab this. What I do, I'll unplug it. This is my fly rig right here. Everything's not mirrored. It's not mirrored here. So when I move this way, the video, anyway. The reason this one isn't glued down because this one switches out. And what's up, Shauna?
Hi.
We're actually doing a live stream today. We haven't done one in forever. So this is my wireless. This is my workhorse. And then I would just, I would have a little pedal board that's got my wireless and this, and then it can go to the board. And that way I've already done the EQ. I've already done what little compression I do. I've already put my reverb on there. I put my delay on there. I've done it the way I want people to hear it. And now we can go out to the DJ and all he has to do is turn it up. It's pretty hard to mess that one up. Leave it flat, leave it dry, crank it up, let's get to work, right? I've already done all the work. You don't have to try to figure out how to make a violin sound like it's supposed to sound. I don't expect you to do that. I've been doing this my whole life. You haven't. This little guy does the work. So for $600, I would get one of these and I would let it do the work and just tell the DJ, don't do anything, just turn it up. That's all you got to do. But that's me. Yeah, that's what I would do. It's not what I would do. It's what I did do. I won't say it's the only answer, but that's the one I liked. Seemed up to 500K. Yeah, I think that might have been the first one. If you're talking about the Pro City, it might have been the first one they sent us, and we were like, it's a new product, man. Why would you go 500K? That doesn't make any sense. So to the best of my knowledge and my little addled brain right now, as I recall, the updated one is some number with an M after it. I don't know what that number is. I don't remember. Two Codabos. I played an outdoor show. The temperature went down to 50, 55. They ran out of a tightening room. Yeah, so no, it's not carbon fiber isn't what changed there. The hair on the bow is what changed there. And it's really humidity will do you worse than temperature will. My contract states that the stage will be between 55 and 100 degrees. If it's below 55, you don't have a fiddle player. You have a large man who does not like to be cold. If it's above 100, you don't have a fiddle player and you don't have an audience anyway because they all melted. So my contract says 55 to 100. If you can't manage that, then sorry. But the fingers don't move below 55 degrees, and I just don't like being cold. So I don't do it. I used to play at the beach a lot, and the humidity at the beach can make those hairs really get long. If you have long hair, you understand when you go to the beach, your hair don't act like it's supposed to act. So yeah, there's hair on a bow will, if it's not synthetic, if it's real horsehair, it'll stretch in the humidity and you just won't be able to get it tight. So what I asked my rehair guy, just rehair these things tighter than you feel comfortable doing it. I promise not to tell any of your buddies that you did this rehair job. Just rehair it shorter than you really want to, because I play where it's humid a lot and I need that. The other option, if you're in a situation where your bow hair stretches a lot, is to get synthetic hair. There are some new synthetic hairs out there that actually do hold rosin. I do not have those names at the front of my memory. Maybe some people can weigh in on that. Synthetic hair doesn't stretch. It does not care what the temperature is. It does not care what humidity is. It just the length that it is the length that it is. So that's another option. But yeah, it wasn't the bow, it's the hair. What's happened in Argentina? ¿Cómo está? Question about strings for electric violin. Does anyone perform better? Yes. In fact, I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think which string you use matters more on an electric than it matters on an acoustic. And the reason is, with an acoustic, there's the string, right? And then the top of the instrument, the sound post, the bottom of the instrument, the whole bit. There's a bunch of stuff after the strings before that sound gets to your ears. With an electric, there's strings and a pickup. The pickup is touching the strings in most cases, and any teeny tiny change in the sound from the string is going to affect what the pickup hears. So I think changing strings when you're on an electric makes a huge difference. And people say, well, you can just EQ it. Yeah, you can. But that's, again, what I've said is subtractive EQ is the thing. You can take away things that are there, but you can't add things that aren't there. If that string isn't making any sound at 10K, you can boost 10K all you want, and all you're going to get is noise, right? So I want to fix things with my sound as close to the source as possible. You can't get any closer to the source than the strings. So changing strings makes a huge difference. Now, better, like I told Pete, better's not a thing. There's different, but better is not a thing. So I go to violinstringreview.com. If you go to violinstringreview.com, they have a chart, and it's based on a bunch of feedback that they got from violinists. And I think, was it dominance dead center or helichords dead center? One of those is dead center. And then they compare everything to that. Maybe it's dominant. That they compare everything to dominant, whether it's more complex, whether it's more direct, whether it's warmer or brighter. And if you want say, okay, I know what dominant sounds like. I want something that is more complex and warmer. You just kind of follow on the chart and you see which strings are more complex and warmer than dominants. And you can just try some of those on your violin. So yes, the strings to me make a big difference. And yeah, you can try to EQ, you can try to do all that stuff, but all of that is later in the signal chain. And for me, the earlier you can fix something in your signal chain, the better it's going to be. Because every knob you turn has an intended effect, and it's got some unintended effects. It's like taking medicine, right? You take, a painkiller because, my head is killing me, so I'm going to take a painkiller. But you know what some painkillers can do? They can upset your tummy. So I took that, but now I got to take something else because I got an upset tummy. But you know what those things can do? They can make you sleepy. So then, now I got to take some caffeine because I'm falling asleep because I'm taking this. So I ended up taking 4 medicines. Really what I needed to do was drink some water so I wasn't dehydrated. And then my headache was just fixed and I didn't have to take all those medicines and all this, effects and counter effects and etc. So effects are like that. Effects? Wow. That was quite a sentence, Matt. When you put on distortion it causes some distortion, but it also causes compression, and it also causes high frequency artifacts, and it also causes these other things. So then, well, now I got to EQ it after that. And then, but the EQ does this thing. So I got to do something else to affect the EQ. So if you can, this closer to the source you can fix the problem, the better things are going to be. And that's a long answer to a short question. Oh, thanks, Dan. What is the best violin? Again, there's no such thing as best. Price for quality, I will say. I mean, it's not a hard answer on that. Honestly, I think the YEV is one of the most amazing quality to price ratios you can get. If you like the sound of the YEV, and a lot of people do, it's hard to go wrong with buying a YEV. They make 4-string and 5-string. They make a bunch of different colors. They're inexpensive enough that you can do some customization on there if you want to. I think it would be kind of easy to justify buying a YEV in almost any circumstance. I personally like a lot fatter sound than the YEV gives. So I would say that a similarly priced instrument, which it's a little bit more, I like the Geva. The Geva Novita, to me, has a little more warmth and a little less brightness in it, which is kind of lines up with my personal preferences a little more. But I'll say this, the market prefers the YEV like significantly. We sell way more YEVs than we sell anything else. Clearly what I like is not, I don't go along with what the market says. And that's fine. It doesn't mean that you're wrong or I'm wrong. We're just different, right? You know, they want pizza. I want hamburgers. It's fine. YEV is an outstanding quality for value. Honestly, just about all the violins we have are a great, they're a good, they're all appropriately priced. Let's just say that. We won't carry a violin because, you know, let's face it, we are the largest electric violin retailer on the planet. Pretty much every manufacturer who doesn't do a bunch of direct sales wants their violin hanging on this wall. So we go through an evaluation process before we carry an instrument. And one of the things that it has to pass is it has to be a good value, meaning that the price and the quality are appropriately linked. You know, if you send me an instrument that's probably a good instrument for $800, but you want to sell it for $3,000, we're not going to help you do that. I can't look my customers, because a lot of you guys are my friends. I can't look you guys in the eye and say, yeah, this thing's worth $3,000. I'm just not going to do it. If it's not an appropriately priced instrument, we just aren't going to carry it. So, you know, the ones that are more expensive are more expensive because they're better. Now, is a $2,000 violin twice as good as a $1,000 violin? No, it's not. There is a point of diminishing returns, but the question is, you know, how much better? Is it 30% better? Okay, it's 100% more money, but it's 30% better. Well, how bad do you need that 30%? Right? If you need that 30% because that's the sound that's going to make you happy, then if you have the extra $1,000, that's what you should spend it on. So that's my opinion. Okay. I think that already asked and answered. I'm not reading all these ahead of time. I'm just putting them on. Thanks for the info share. Yeah. Of course. If you think of a 5-string electroacoustic violin which works decently when it is not plugged. So, yeah, decently? Yeah, Realist works decently well. Zeta Acoustic Pro works decently well, and Bridge, especially Golden Tasman, works decently well. Keep in mind that a Realist, even the RV5 PEs, what do they cost? Less than $3,000? It's less than $3,000, right? So how good a violin is it going to be? Well, you could probably compare it to an acoustic violin that costs less than $3,000, which is frankly not a great violin. So is it going to compare to your $10,000 acoustic? No. And guess why? Because it's not $10,000. If it was as good as your $10,000 violin, we would charge $10,000 for it. So I think you got to just kind of keep in mind, with all the electronics built in, it's $2,500, and those electronics are probably worth $500 or $600. So what is it? It's probably a $1,500 violin that's had some stuff added to it, and it's been shipped to the U.S. and shipped to you, and So think about what is that violin body worth? That's kind of what you can expect out of it. Also, keep in mind that acoustic electric violins are made to be a little more feedback resistant than a fine acoustic with a pickup on it. And one of the ways you do that is by using a little bit thicker front and back plates to make it a little more feedback resistant. So it's not going to really speak and project the way your good acoustic will. But the thing is, the thing that makes this a good acoustic electric is the same thing that's going to make it not a great acoustic, right? So with acoustic electric violins, they're trying to sort of hit that sweet spot where it's decent as an acoustic and it's decent as an electric. It's going to be more feedback prone than the Strickel or an NS or a Cantini. It's going to be more feedback prone than a solid body. It's going to be less feedback prone than just a really nice acoustic with a pickup on it. So, you can't have it both ways. And the acoustic electric is kind of in the middle. They're trying to find the best compromise position they can find. It's kind of good enough as an acoustic, but it's also good enough as one that's plugged in. And everything's a trade-off. That's day one of engineering school, by the way. Everything's a trade-off. I hope that helps. Sorry if it's not the answer you're hoping for. I probably can go about 15 or so more minutes. Are there many advanced musicians in other countries who go from regular violin to electric guitar and then to electric violin? I don't know. I know there are a bunch of electric violinists. Okay, so almost every electric violinist I know went from regular violin, whatever that means, acoustic violin, the Amish violin, went from an acoustic violin to an electric. Almost nobody starts on electric, and that's probably a good thing. So learn how to play on an acoustic, then go to electric. How many violinists also play guitar? In the bluegrass world, a lot. It is very, very common in the bluegrass world for a violinist to also be a guitar player. Now, how good are they on guitar compared to violin? There's guys like Tyler Randall, who's fantastic on both. Mark O'Connor is fantastic on both. Joseph Shackelford is more of a rock guy, but he's a very good guitar player, fantastic violinist. Let's see, who else? I can picture him right now, and I can't say his name. There are a number of really fantastic violinists who also play guitar. Joe Denenzone, who plays for Kansas, is a very competent guitar player. Kyle Pudence is a ridiculously good violinist and a ridiculously good guitar player. In the bluegrass world, there are tons of them. In the rock world, probably not as many. Jinx from Black Veil Brides, a very good violinist, a very good guitar player. There's a number of them out there. Country and bluegrass, a whole lot of them. In other countries, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. What's up, Jeff? Mark Wood, awesome, unique tone. Absolutely. Is a due to a Barbera pickup and the effects that he uses. I have heard Mark Wood, and Mark Wood would be very upset to hear anybody think that he would ever play something other than a Mark Wood violin. But once in a million years, Mark Wood will pick up some other violin and play it. And you know what he sounds like? He sounds like Mark Wood. Mark Wood sounds like Mark Wood because of these and this right here. Part of his tone is the instrument, but most of his tone is because of who he is. When I pick up his violin and play through his rig, I sound like me. And when he picks up my violin and plays through my rig, he sounds like him. So, yeah, his rig, it's funny. He's got this little old school, it's probably a 30-year-old plastic Zoom pedal that he uses that has no business sounding as good as it does. But that's just Mark, man. That Mark sounds like Mark. So his tone is just, man, I can't explain it. It's just, that's who he is. And that's what he sounds like. Yeah. Which wireless is one I'm using? I have several. The one on this pedal board is a G10S. I'm growing more and more disillusioned with the 2.4 gigahertz wirelesses as the world as Wi-Fi is getting more and more kind of ubiquitous everywhere you go. It used to be, I never, ever, ever had an issue with any 2.4 gigahertz wireless anywhere I went, except there was one place down in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, that they had this massive Wi-Fi router literally mounted on the stage. And I just had to use a cable there. It was throwing out all kinds of friggin' crazy RF energy. The RF spectrum is getting more and more crowded as time goes on. And I have yet to find something that makes me super happy that is a Bud style wireless. I don't necessarily need a Bud style wireless because I usually play a Viper and it's got a strap on it. So I can use any kind of wireless I want because it's got a pack and I just throw it on the strap on the Viper. But I think the only Bud style wirelesses I'm aware of, which is what most violinists kind of prefer, are in the 2.4 gigahertz range. I would really like somebody to make one that's not in that range that is a Bud style. To my knowledge, nobody is doing that yet. I'm not an expert on wireless. I know that when I play a bigger event and I'm like, no, I kind of need my wireless to be a bulletproof wireless in this situation, I just backline it. I tell the sound company that's there, hey, you need to provide me a wireless. And then frequency management becomes their problem. Fresh batteries are their problem, the whole bit. So if it's a big deal that I'm playing, I just backline the wireless. I have the 2.4 gigahertz stuff because it's easy and it's fairly inexpensive. But at some point, I'm probably going to have to go spend some actual money on one, and then I will just call Sweetwater. My rep at Sweetwater knows everything about everything, so that's what I'll do. Yes, as a matter of fact, I have, and I shredded a set of strings. Probably because I had maybe been a little overserved that night, and this is probably almost 30 years ago. And it was a fretted violin. I just grabbed somebody's glass slide and went, and then there's strings flying everywhere. Yeah, it can be done. I'm sure people do it. Anytime you're like, hey, I wonder if anybody, yeah, they have. 100% they have. If you had the idea, somebody's had that idea before you. It's the number of actual original ideas in the world is almost zero. It's almost impossible to think of something that nobody has thought of before. It's not impossible, just almost impossible. Yeah, I'm sure it's been done. I did it a while ago. It didn't sound like I wanted it to sound, and it cost me like $50 in strings, and it wrecked my buzz. So it messed me up. Let's see. I heard the Glasser violin tends to be heavy. Yes, they are. They're a little heavier than your average violin. Now, keep in mind, a very heavy violin weighs 2 pounds. Okay, so I don't know. Do some push-ups or something, man. It's people complaining about a violin. Do not complain about the weight of a violin around your bass player. They will bludgeon you to death. They're out there playing 15-pound basses, and you're complaining about a violin that weighs 1.7 pounds. They will wound you. Now, in fairness, they don't hold their bass up here, right? I don't know. Do some push-ups, man. You got to get them guns going. Yeah, okay, so there are people with injuries and all that, and they need lighter and lighter violins. If you need a lightweight violin, because you can't do push-ups, then the Glasser's probably not for you. Compared to the Barkus Berry, I don't know. I wouldn't even care how much the Glasser weighed. It sounds so much better than the Barkus Berry. If it weighed 5 pounds, I would play it anyway. The Glassers, like I said, I do not like a bright, piercing, very stabby sound. Barkus Berries are very, 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 very bright. They're very bright. I want to say that one more time. They are very bright. I don't like very bright, personally. So I like Glassers. They sound warmer, richer, fatter. A Glasser violin almost sounds like a viola. And you know what a viola is? It's like a violin, except it sounds good. And you guys are all groaning at me. Every one of you hates your E string. I don't want to hear it. So, yeah, Glasser violins are a little bit heavy, but they're very, very rich and fat and warm, and I don't really care how much they weigh because they sound so good. This would be a short answer. No, I don't know. I would say 1 mega ohm at least. That's what I would say, because it's a passive instrument. So that would be my guess. But do I know what it is? No, I do not. They need to make more light pink electric violins. Well, Glasser makes one. And let's see. 3D Various makes a bright pink violin. They made one for Judith Mateo, who's a big star in Spain. Who else makes pink ones? A lot of these guys will make custom violins, or you could just paint yours. Just saying. Do you track down 7-string violins? They all seem to be out of stock. That's because they are all out of stock because somebody bought them, which is great because we're a shop, so that's wonderful. We've got some coming. I think we've got some. I think we got a couple of 7-string Vipers coming. We got some 7-string Jordans coming. I got an 8-string Jordan right here. So, I mean, 7. What a chump. Who would play a 7-string violin when you can play an 8-string violin? They are out of stock. We always have them on order from the places that make them. And it's just, you know, they've been selling real well lately. And so, yeah, they just kind of sold faster than we could get them in for the moment. But they're on order. Just hang tight. They'll be here. What MIDI violins are available? Cantini and Zeta. Those are the two that can plug into a GR55 or the new GM800. And if you're looking for a MIDI controller, that is the Digitize, and those will be available soon. What's going on with 3D Various? All their products have been out of stock for months. Not true. Got one right here. What's going on with them? This guy's been sitting right here waiting for you to buy it, Mr. Quiet Passenger. So this one's here. There is another one. Where I think we've got at least one other one. Yeah, here's another one here. Here's one right here. If you squint hard enough, this one's pink. It was pink, but we left it out in the sun just a little too long. You can leave out in the sun a little longer and then it would become pink. Shauna's glaring at me. Okay, sorry. No, I don't know. So we've got a couple of these. I don't know about the other 3D Varii violins. But we got 2 of them here. So not all of them. Is there a brand called Tarzan? I don't know. Are you doing research? If you're doing market research, right now, I do not know of a brand called Tarzan. It's not the worst idea I've heard. You have your That could be like your logo. How do you spell that? I don't know. I'm starting to get punchy. Sorry. Shoulder rest in its design way violin. It keeps moving. Okay. Yeah. So I got one right here. So this thing rotates in a couple different axes. It rotates this way, right? Which is where you tighten here. And it rotates this way where you tighten here. So the cool thing about this is you tighten it right here. Okay, but if this is all the way tight and the thing keeps spinning, it's because, look at the way this thing is. It means that this piece is not tight enough because this actually, it's a cantilever. So there is, if you can see right here, if you can see in the light right there, there's a little hex key right here. You can tighten this, and then it's going to make this, it's going to pull this piece in, and it's going to make this wheel work a little better. So if you've been playing this thing for a while, it's probably because this little nut has maybe backed out a little bit. It is a teeny tiny hex key. I think one should have been in your case when you bought it. If not, you know, if you've got some Allen wrenches at home, you tighten this little dude up right here, and then this thing will start working for you again. So yeah, that's actually a fairly common problem, and it's just the way physics works. Good question. I got a couple more minutes and I'm going to run out of gas. Do you find a rosin buildup can damage the external electronics on an electric violin? Generally, no. The exception to that is the Barbera pickup. I got a Barbera somewhere here. Yes, here's a Barbera. On a Barbera pickup, there's a little cassette here that floats kind of freely in this bridge. And then there's a gap inside here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a gap right here. If rosin dust gets inside that gap, the pickups are just inside here. The piezo elements are just inside here. If that gap gets plugged up with rosin dust and it can't vibrate freely, that's bad. Because it might mean that, say, my C string right here got a little rosin dust inside there, and that wood is not vibrating freely. It means that that pickup is not getting all the energy it needs, and that string is going to be quiet. So I'm going dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, right? It's exactly what it's going to sound like, by the way. That one string is going to be like 30% the volume of all the other strings. That's because there's some rosin dust down inside there. And there are a number of solutions for that. We've got videos about it. But the Barbera is probably the one that suffers the most damage from the buildup of rosin. If you're using a Barbera, probably maybe don't go too hog wild on the rosin. All right, let's see a couple more of these. Is the 6-string for sale? Yes, as a matter of fact, it is. I think it's on our website. Chris, is it on our website?
Yes, it is.
The root beer float one?
Yes, it is.
It's on our website. It is. Is the 8-string for sale? Sorry, I didn't have my glasses on. Can't see that. It is. But it just got here like today. So it is not on our website yet, but it will be very soon. And in fact, if you call the shop, it might not even get to the website. I don't know. So I don't remember our phone number, but it's on our website. 866 900 8400. And I still don't know our number, but you know it. If you were listening, you wrote it down. All right. $72.99, $7,299 American dollars.
Not even $1,000 per string.
Yeah, less than $1,000 per string. That's really good, actually. Because there are some violins that cost over $1 million, so that's an incredible bargain. All right. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the rest of these. Ooh, I like that question. Will I come to Brazil again? Man, I sure hope so. I really would love to come to Brazil again. I was in Brazil in 2019 and really enjoyed my time there. Brazil is a wonderful country, fantastic people, amazing food. I got a chance to play in Sao Paulo on Avenida Paulista. Got a chance to play down there. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. Let's see. Hello from Quebec. Thank you. Merci. What else? Yeah, lots of people here from around the world. Man, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hopefully this was fun for you guys. It was fun for me. I'm not going to be doing weekly live streams anymore. That's a lot. It's a lot of work. And I've kind of been directing my efforts in other directions. If you follow us on YouTube, we've been putting up tons of YouTube content, and that is a ton of work. So I've been mostly directing my energy in that direction. But we'll still do some live streams now and then. I missed seeing all you guys, or missed seeing your names pop up, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. So hey, thank you guys for hanging out. This was a lot of fun for me, and I will catch you the next time that I'm bored, I guess. Is that why I did this? I have no idea. All right, thanks everybody. And Chris always wanted me to say, I finally remembered when it's not a regular thing anymore. He wanted me to say same Matt time, same Matt channel, but since it's random now, sorry. That I just got booted off the air for that. Oh my God. All right. Sorry.